but I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until
Welcome, folks, to the 53rd Breakfast Ball. Technically, this is our new year in the Breakfast Ball since it is episode 53. And as we say, the average podcast lasts 7 episodes, so we've made 53. So that's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Bob Cardia, and to my left, the highly coveted guest we have here today, KATE Butler, who, if you don't mind me reading your resume here, is the host of Where All Things Are Possible on RVN TV, best-selling author, 100 weeks on the best-selling
100
list.
weeks, my first book.
Her first book on the, wow, that's fantastic. And you've published over 20 books now, you were saying?
Correct.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that actually I would like to get to. And you do publishing and a success coach, and as well as her daughter Bella, who would promise we give her TV time,
Yes.
right? She is in our junior golf league, an aspiring young golfer.
Yes.
So, well, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
No.
I'm really happy to be here.
Love to have you. We were chatting before the show about all the similarities that we've had in our lives. And I do research, as you know, for these programs. And ikigai was a word that had come up, which is a Japanese word, and hopefully I didn't pronounce that incorrectly, but we're hoping.
We'll give you grace.
We'll try.
Yeah.
Okay. But basically, it means it's something when I was watching your stuff. It is somebody who wakes up every day, who found their purpose in life, and is solely focused on what makes them happy, what makes them tick, and it gives them motivation towards bigger and better things. And that's a lot of what you do, correct?
Absolutely. It's a lot of what I do because it's actually, I believe, a lot simpler than people make it out to be to find your purpose in life. And I feel like we make it a big thing, and we sometimes make it bigger than it has to be, which causes a lot of overwhelm and confusion for people. What is my big life purpose? And I think a lot of times that it can be broken down into finding something that you enjoy to do and that you are actually good at doing. So that's a little different sometimes,
Yeah.
right? And that can right off the bat cause some confusion.
Correct.
But then if you believe you can do it and then have a system or a strategy to do it, and you can literally just do those 4 things, that will lead you to your life purpose. What if it was just that simple? So that's what we teach.
A lot of it is that simple, though, right? Like, I mean, it's funny because the term I was looking at was wabi sabi, and you know the term. It's basically embracing imperfection and going. Like, I actually had a conversation with somebody earlier today, and she was talking about, what if this goes wrong, what if this goes wrong, and I always tell the dashing Richie Stoltz, who's behind the camera today,
Yes.
right? I always tell him, let's just go. I mean, if you worry about what I call is like, what if the meteor falls on my house? Like, if you sit there never willing to take the chance to go, you're never gonna get to where you want to be, right? And that's kind of what you talk about also, right?
I always say that nobody cares about an error or a mistake when you're changing their life.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
So, let's say you write a book and there's a typo in it, but the message in it saved their life, changed their life, helped them in some way. They're never going to say, well, coach.
Yeah.
You left off that comma, right?
Yeah,
They're going to
yeah.
say thank you for the message, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I like the way you put that. Now, question for you. You said you just came out with a new book. Okay. Is that address the same type of things that we're talking about now?
Yeah, so the new book was something unique and different that I haven't done yet. My prior books have all been about personal story and lessons and messaging and strategy and things of that nature. So this book was something fun, a little passion project for me. It's called All Things Are Possible on Amazon. And this is a book that is a quick read. You can actually pick it up and open to any page at any time.
Nice. Okay.
And I'm very big into morning rituals and morning routine just to really start your day, like set it up for success from the beginning, if you will. And so I offered this to, the audience to say, this is a great thing to incorporate into your morning routine. Pick it up, whatever it says in there, right? This can be your guide for the day. So it's quotes, it's prompts, it's intentions for the day, right? It's a mixture of all of these things. So you can kind of use it and work with it to set your day up for success.
Interesting. So Dr. Bob Rotella, who is the foremost golf psychologist in the world, his books basically are each chapter is a separate like mini story. Is that the way basically that's set up?
So it's not even chapters. It's just each page is a quote, a prompt, an intention, or something to either workshop your day with, right? And so it's like, take this intention into the day, or give some thought or awareness around this, and maybe journal for 5 minutes, or something like that, right? And so each page is different and unique, and so you can literally open up at any time. So it's a very different book than I've ever done before, but it's a #1 international bestseller, which we're very proud of.
Oh, wow.
So it went #1 in Canada, the UK, the United States.
Gosh, okay.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to get it, where were they? Amazon?
Amazon.com in whatever country you're in. Yeah, wherever you get Amazon. Yeah.
Now, I'm just thinking on a quick side note, because if you hear the phone ringing in the background, the Dash and Richie Stoll is going to shut that door for us. But I forgot to say this.
They're calling about my book.
I know. It's off I know. Matter of fact, there's a line outside the building right now. I forgot it because I have a great memory. It's just a short one. Shout out to Valari's Lakeside Restaurant, by the way. They're always nice enough to let us come in here and use this as a studio. So Nick and Joe Abate, thank you so much for letting us use the studio today. And if you guys ever want to, catering, whatnot, great Italian restaurant, please, Sicklerville, New Jersey, for sure. Forgot to do the shout out.
Valari's is great. Yeah.
Okay, so Richie and I talk about this a lot because I coach at the college level and I coach with self-imposed limits. And I'm reading your stuff and watching your stuff, right? That's what all limits are, basically, right? Self-imposed. Although you said something I love. Okay. Is like you want to identify what your passion is, what you wake up every morning to want to do. But you also have to probably have some kind of aptitude for it, right? Yeah, I'm just, if I wanted to be a track star, that's just probably not going to happen. It's my brother used to say I have deceptive speed. I'm slower than I look. So
that would be me.
Yeah, you and me both. That's I'm a golfer. Yeah. Okay, so you said something else that I wanted to circle back to that I absolutely love too. Explain. I saw it in one of your TV shows. Everything is fine, but everything's not fine. So you and I talked about because we both had heart surgery at one point.
Yeah.
And you wake up one day and you say, "Wow, everything's fine," but it's not fine. So what did you mean by that?
Well, it was interesting because I was 27 when I got diagnosed with a fatal heart condition, and how they described it to me at this age, because and this is what I heard also, and I'm sure they gave me all the medical terms, but what I heard looking back at the doctor, at that age, after I had gone through a series of 10, 15 tests in a matter of 48 hours. And these tests that generally take months to even schedule or get into, they were getting me in one right after the other because the results were coming back and they were highly concerned. And they finally sat me down and said, have you ever heard of those seemingly healthy athletes, okay, that are out on the field and they're at football practice or soccer practice or whatever it may be, and they just drop dead on the field? The condition that they have, that's what you have. Wow. That's how they described it to me. Okay. And they said, and this was interesting also, they said, but because you're not in cardiac arrest, because you're not actually having a heart attack, we can't bring you to the emergency room and have heart surgery right now. So the earliest that we can get you in is within 2 weeks, okay? So we don't know that you'll make it that long, but that's the earliest we can get you in without bringing you, because you're not in an emergency room situation. So this is how they're describing it to me in layman's terms. So I just remember walking, I had a roommate at the time, and I remember walking back in. This is my childhood best friend, that I grew up with, and we met when we were 11, and anyway, we ended up rooming together in our 20s, and she walks in and she's talking about, what she's going to do that weekend and the summer concert that they're buying tickets to, and I remember having that awareness, this deep level of awareness. We have these aha moments in our life where things just shift, and once you know it, you can't unknow it. Yep. And that was one of the moments that I had then that I went, oh wow, like I don't know that I have more time. I don't know that I have more time. Like in a very acute way, I understood this as I never understood it before. And that never left me. So when the doctor said, after all was said and done, we fixed your heart, I thought, thank you, but it was not really as much about my physical heart as it was about what my heart is doing in my life. Right. And how I'm showing up in my life and what I'm prioritizing in my life. And it was just this whole awareness moment where I really decided that everything needed to shift, and I really needed to start living that purpose and finding that purpose first, really, and living in a different way. And that's when everything switched for me.
Right. No, again, probably said I love it about 15 times today, but reading your stuff, because as I told you before, my father was a professional motivational speaker, and and we do you've seen some of our shorts on
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I did one yesterday that about time, and time is free, but time is priceless. Like you can't, when you waste time, right, you can never get it back. You can save money, but you can't save time.
That's right.
And when you have something like that, like sharing, I had heart surgery also, and same thing. I had a condition where they told me I could have dropped dead any time in over a 15-year span. And matter of fact, it was so rare. I told you I'm the oldest living patient that had that, right? That doesn't have brain damage. And I argued my ex-wife would argue that, but that's okay. I use that line all the time. But in that span, I had that, and then I was actually, where they actually did the surgery? Children's Hospital.
Oh, wow.
Because it's only found in small children. So
Wow.
I didn't get a lollipop or nothing.
Not even a sticker.
No, not even a sticker. So I woke up from that, and then a few years later that I had actually a brain tumor a few years after that. And then shortly thereafter, my father, who was professional, never sick a day in his life, pancreatic cancer, passed away. So that all happened in like a 5 to 7 year window. And I look at life completely different now. Like I take chances wherever I can. And when I see someone like you, and I honestly, when my assistant Mary told me about you, I looked at him, like, oh, that's wonderful. And the more I've researched you, I think people can get a lot out of what you bring to the table.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's. I think it's not. It's undersold in our society. Like life is precious. Live each day like it's your last. So and that seems to be the theme of almost all your books, right?
That's right.
But your first book was a children's book?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yep.
Now tell me about it. Was a bestseller list for 100 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. I haven't read it, but what was?
We'll make sure you get a copy.
Yeah, please. Let's go. Let's go. I don't plan on having more children, but that's it. I have 4 already. But so what was that book? You said a lot of moms like that book, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
And moms are who buy children's books generally, in my experience. And so I had mentioned that I started to live life differently. And so I started to say, what do I want for work? What do I want in my relationships? What do I want, as far as, personal goals and things of that nature, right? So I got married within a few years from that heart surgery. I ended up buying a house, and I, started to really double down on my career, right? And so after I got married, about a year later, Bella, who is now 15 and in the golf academy league, rather I should say, and she, I was a first-time mom, and I remember after I had her, I started to look around and I went, I did it again, and I feel like people don't talk about this enough.
Yeah, please.
That. You can have an awareness and you can make a decision, but you have to recommit to that every day.
Yeah.
Really
yeah.
make a choice to live a certain way every single day.
Yep.
And what had happened to me was I woke up one day in my life and it was just fine.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to be really scared of.
Yes.
If things are just fine,
Correct.
get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Make a change,
Yeah.
right? Because you are not here to be just fine.
Yes.
Like you are really, truly, in my opinion, this, a God-given gift to be extraordinary, right? And I'm not an extremely religious person, but I feel like I can say this because less than 10% of the world is atheist. So I'm speaking to the masses here. We all believe that there's something bigger out there for us, okay?
Right.
And we are really, truly here to be extraordinary. And I did know that at that 27 when I started to have a very different look at life. And then here I was standing, quite frankly, in the foyer, and I won't get into the full story now just because of the bandwidth of our time here, but the shortened version is I'm standing in the foyer of my new house with my new baby and my somewhat new marriage, and I went, oh my gosh, like I am showing up big time as a wife. I am showing up big time as a new mom. I am showing up big time for a friend and a daughter, and I am showing up big time in my career, but there is nowhere in my life where I am showing up big time for myself. Right. Who am I?
Right.
who am I?
Yeah.
So if I were to backtrack this and say, you know better, because we don't know how much more time we have.
Right.
Okay, so if I am going back to what I really truly understand, which is that we have to live each moment in our purpose and on purpose, what would that look like? And from that decision, I said, what I really want is to show my children, and it was just Bella at the time, and I had this idea, I want to show my children how I've always looked at life that has been quite different than everyone else. So you're lucky. Your dad, right? He was this motivational speaker. It sounds like you've had these seeds planted within you from a very young age.
I used to go, because he did some big venues. And I remember he'd bring me along, like you said, you almost brought your daughter along today.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting like just off stage.
Yeah.
And you'd see 500 people out there, and he was giving that message.
Message.
And subliminal. You don't realize how smart your parents are until it's probably too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I'm reading your stuff, I'm like, yeah, right on, let's go.
Well, that's what I wanted to do for my children.
Yep.
Exactly what your dad did for you.
Yep.
That is what I wanted to do for my children. And I thought, how can I do this? Right? Well, what I could do is I could write a children's book. And maybe if I want this book for my kids.
Uh-oh. Little Christmas interlude.
You could ever know.
But incidentally, that is the number one selling.
So fun.
Yeah, the number one selling Christmas song of all time.
I talk about focus too, and we're just going to test my focus skills. And, and so I thought, if I want this book for my children, there must be other moms out there that want this book as well.
Yeah.
And so that is why and how I wrote that book. And I owned a corporate company at that time. I was in staffing and recruiting, and I owned my own company. And this was just a little passion project. I went live on purpose, right, and in purpose, and what would that look like? And I'm going to write this children's book for my kids. And so they can pick it up at any point in life, regardless of how much time I have left. There's going to be something concrete for them to pick up and see the way that I see the world in a way that children can understand.
I've thought about that a lot of times, like with even the shorts and stuff that I do. I try to find topics and things that have some kind of connection with me or life. So just having 53 podcasts out there, so my kids, if I get by a bus tomorrow, they can look and say, you know what? Oh, this is what Dad was about. I know, I get
That's
it.
That's it, right? Yeah. So that book is called More Than Mud, and it's about making muddy moments magical for kids. So these moments that, even I'm so guilty of as a mom sometimes too, because even though we live this way and we think this way, we're still human beings and we still have our moments. Yeah. And so the essence of the story is the character comes in and she's full of mud, head to toe covered in mud. And the little girl, Maggie Mudd, is nervous that her mom is going to be upset and that she's going to get in trouble. And instead her mom says, I see your imagination flourishing, and I saw you out there playing, and I'm just so happy that, you have the time of your life. I see more than mud. And that's where the title comes from. And it's like, how do we see that in every situation? And so that's how I began to translate that into a language that children can understand. And that ended up on the bestseller charts for over 100 weeks straight.
That is super impressive. Actually, while you were talking, I had a mud moment this morning.
We all do, don't we?
Yeah, well, so my daughter, she's a freshman in high school, wanted to go to Dunkin' Donuts. And she's like, can we leave for school at 6:40?
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot going today. So I was up crack of dawn early and whatnot. I took my shower, I got there. And I go out at 6:40, and my daughter overslept. Mm-hmm. And she ran out of the bedroom, and she was all upset. I'm sorry. I'm like, look. I love taking my daughter to Dunkin' Donuts in the morning. Mm-hmm. So don't worry about it. I'll go warm up the car. I'll let up the dog. Yep. And I wasn't mad. Right. I'd like to be 10 minutes earlier, but I wasn't. Yep. Yeah. It was one of those moments where, a connection moment. Love it. All right. So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
Sure. So the best way is my website, and you can always email us. So I have a whole team that can support, any incoming questions or contact or anything like that. Support at KateButlerBooks.com. That's the best way to get in touch with us. Okay. You can find all of that on our website at KateButlerBooks.com, and I'm also on all the socials as KateButlerBooks.com, and we're talking YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all of the places.
Yeah, which is also cool, and I'm just throwing this at you on live TV. We do special events from time to time. We go out and do, college recruitings or special we do ladies' nights and stuff like that. So I might hit you up one of those nights to come
Yeah,
out.
I would love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It'd be my honor.
Good.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so I think I covered everything, right? Dashing Richie Stoltz back there nodding. Peace. Okay. So summary. This is something also I got from Kate, is give yourself permission to go for it, right? Because you were sitting and they said, you know what? And I guess that's wabi-sabi, right? Nothing is going to be perfect. And know that going in. But unless you put yourself out there, you'll never get the chance. You never get the opportunity. So wabi-sabi for that. Also, if you like what we're doing, please put on the bottom there. I love the breakfast ball. Everybody out there, obviously, we give out gift cards each week for Starbucks.
I know.
So if you put name,
Gotta put my name in.
And
Love Starbies.
Yeah, everybody does. Everybody does. See, now we founded Starbucks, right? That's a cash cow right there.
There you go. Yep.
But if you get anything out of the podcast and you become rich and famous, as we always say.
Oh no! I was like, I gotta send my contract. I'm not giving the 10%.
Well, not you, them.
I'm kidding.
That's awesome. All right, is Bella practicing, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
And she's going to go out for the high school team.
Yeah, as my daughter is this year too.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
She's very excited.
Good. Well, guys, it was a true pleasure to have Kate on the show today. You know how to find her. You know how to find us. If you need anything from us, just feel free to reach out to us. And as always, have a safe and happy holiday season. Have a great day. Take care.
Take care.
Uh-oh. Little Christmas interlude.
You could ever know.
Glass of bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. Alcohol. Because no great story ever started with, I'll have a salad.